Hello everyone, we are live. Going to give it just a few minutes as we have 0 people following us at the moment. Hello Wyatt McGeary, thanks for joining our video.
You're welcome.
Amanda joined. Hi Amanda, how are you? Hope you're feeling better. We're giving it just a moment to allow all of
We want
the
everyone to
people
soak up
join.
the atmosphere and enjoy all of our wonderful decorations and features on our sets.
Yes. Yes, we're trying to create a cafe vibe. Hopefully we are accomplishing. Mute the sound on yours.
Oh,
Alright. Just finishing, kind of setting up. Give it just another minute.
I might need another beer actually. Do you want to grab me a Guinness?
Sure, I'll grab you a Guinness.
Hope everyone's staying warm on this cold January Saturday. It's a bit nipply outside. All right. Hopefully most of our followers like coffee. I gotta say, I am one of the few people that has not really watched much of How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, you never watch sitcoms,
That would be Diana's strength. I do not carry that gene. It's recessive in me. So
it's only specifically towards How I Met Your Mother.
yeah. But now Ozark, on the other hand, hope everyone's up to speed on Ozark. We are not, but we still gotta watch. We watched the last episode of season 3.
We watched the last episode.
That we just wanted to see. Well, I'm not going to say it for anyone who's not up to speed on it, but good show, great show.
Yeah, crazy. All right, let's get it rolling.
Hopefully everyone likes our new fancy chalkboard.
I'm quite proud of that, actually. Just a little.
All right. Well, so today we are Prairie Sky Brewing. We are
Yes.
Diana and Wyatt.
That is our names.
Thanks for following along. Hopefully you enjoy some of the content we're putting out and everything that you see on our page. We're trying to be more consistent and pump out some good stuff. And so if anyone has any comments or feedback, DM us, comment on the video, send us stuff in the mail as long as it's not white powder. But we appreciate all the feedback. Again, we have a lot of fun making these videos, so it takes a little bit of time to set this crap up, to be honest. You might be surprised, but it does take a little bit of time, but we really enjoy doing it. So we hope to keep these videos rolling in.
Yeah, I think mostly do it because we just really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, which is probably the best reason to do anything.
Yeah,
But
it's really fun. So if the sound ever doesn't sound or isn't loud enough, or our music in the background's too loud, just let us know. But okay, so today we have we brewed a coffee stout. Hence our coffee beans.
Coffee everywhere. Coffee's the
Um,
name. Coffee and chocolate are the name of the name of the day today. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to like add a little tidbit too. For me, I probably only started drinking coffee a year ago, around around Black Friday last year, because we had gotten a coffee maker for Black Friday. So this is not a style. If you had talked to me a year ago, I probably would not have been into this. But now I can't stop drinking it. Like, I'm really obsessed with stouts and porters, and the coffee stouts are like wonderful to me. So really, really excited about this. Really excited about how the beer turned out.
Yeah.
Really excited to try all three of these. We have the Left Hand Milk Stout, the Nitro, which is a pretty like mainstream popular.
Yeah.
I think that's like, if you think of milk stout, Left Hand was like the first one to do it. They won awards, all that jazz. Usually if you say stout, the first thing people think of is Guinness. So this is the Guinness Extra Stout, which is a little different from the Guinness Draught, which we'll
go into that.
Get in that later. Yeah. And in the Brooklyn, this is a special release. They only release it October to March.
Yeah.
So this is their chocolate stout.
They release that every year. Since 1994, they've released this every year. And I didn't even know about it. I've always been a little more into like coffee and chocolate stouts than Diana, of course, but I had never heard of this one. We've had plenty of Brooklyn lagers in the past. They're pretty wide ranging as far as distribution, but we have not had this one. So looking forward to trying that one, because I know Brooklyn makes some good stuff.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and again, we'll go a little bit more into that, because that one was a little bit surprising when we actually looked up some things. So, but I think we just kind of wanted to start off, for those of you that aren't familiar or interested of like what a stout is. According to the style guidelines for, world competitions, the American stout. So we were going for an American stout, essentially. Overall stouts are a dark beer, roasty, malty, not typically super hot, because traditionally, so stouts, the English in Britain, they developed stouts, so that was their, a porter or a stout. That was what they brewed initially. That was their go-to, I guess, back in the day, whatever day that was.
They started in England back in the 1700s was when the style really came around, probably by accident, which is, how a lot of things come about. But they became very popular because the darker beers and some of the hoppiness that they did have more hop than some of the traditional malty, like English lagers or English ales. So they did store better. They were a little bit higher alcohol, so they stored better. As far as, obviously everyone back then was worried about contamination with everything they did. So they really became popular in England, and then it started as porters, and then they started becoming a little bit stronger. And so they started calling them stouts, because stout meant stronger, as in like a higher alcohol. So that's sort of how they sort of merged into stouts and became, and back then they called even, pale beers, yellow beers, blonde colored beers, they would call them stouts if they were higher alcohol. But as time moved on, it started to be more associated just with the darker, like porters. So stout is sort of kind of an offshoot of a porter. Nowadays is kind of where we're at still. So
and all stouts are porters, but not all porters are stouts. So I think the two styles have kind of evolved over time. Again, we brewed a American stout. So American and British stouts, so they tend to be quote unquote on the sweeter side. They're not typically that sweet. Like the milk stout definitely is going to be a little bit sweet, because they do use like lactose, but an Irish stout is much more dry and bitter. So that's kind of your three distinctions there. I guess originally American stouts were known as West Coast stouts because of the hopping that we use.
Yeah.
in America.
And
versus
American hops are just, they just have more, they have more character. They tend to have more alpha acids. They're more bitter. They're bigger. They're bolder. They're not as, floral and spicy as a lot of the European hops. So we naturally have like bigger, bolder beers almost with everything that we do over here. So, we were going for an American stout. Ours, we didn't add any added sugar like lactose to our beer, like Left Hand. So it's not a really sweet beer. It's probably somewhere in between like a dry and a sweet stout. But we're pretty happy with how it turned out. So
definitely. Let's get into it.
let's get into the first
drinking.
one, Left Hand.
We're gonna do the Left Hand milk stout.
I gotta admit, it's been a little while since I've had one of these. An interesting thing about these that we'll obviously talk about is these are brewed with nitro, with nitrogen gas. So you've probably seen a nitro beer on tap or on draft, and like everyone kind of knows, they pour a little bit creamier. You get a little bit better mouthfeel. They have a little more body to them. So that's becoming more and more popular, not just with stouts, but we'll talk about it a little bit. A lot of breweries in general use a combination of carbon dioxide, CO2, and nitrogen to carbonate and pressurize their beers. So it's an interesting thing that a lot of breweries are doing to try and develop the mouthfeel of their beers. So it's, but yeah, this is brewed with nitrogen, so it gives it a more creamy, smooth, full-bodied taste.
And the nitrogen, I was actually reading up on it because I didn't know too much specifically, but so when you pump nitrogen into the beer, all the carbonation actually, the nitrogen goes up. So you have the beer body itself is lightly carbonated and everything's in the head. So it actually gives you like a deeper profile. So pretty interesting, actually. Yeah. So, and you can tell, I mean, we don't have full pints, but it's got a super creamy head.
Yeah, it's really thick head.
Real dark.
Pretty typical, like a light brown head. I would say this is not the darkest beer that we're going to drink tonight by any means. This is actually got like a dark amber or a dark brown. It's not black by any means. I don't think it's more of a dark brown. So interesting.
Yeah. All right. It's honestly, the nose isn't that heavy.
Yeah, creamy. Like it's very light. Some light notes of chocolate, light notes of coffee.
You get kind of that milk chocolate.
Yeah, milk. Yeah, that's good. You can tell it's going to be creamy by the smell. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers. Oh boy. And that's exactly. So that makes sense. Now that I've researched more on the nitrogen, you can tell you get that rich, foamy, creamy head, but the beer itself has almost no carbonation.
It's really light.
But it actually works really well. So I don't know if that's the same like nitro coffee. I don't know if that's like the same. Obviously, it's probably the same concept. But I've never really drank cold brew nitro coffee, so that'd be something maybe to try. But
it's not.
It's real interesting.
It's not thin. Like it has a good body to it, but it's really light in the fact that like the hop profile is like it's not hoppy at all.
No, it's so good.
It's clean. It's smooth. It's not bitter.
And I would call this, again, quote unquote sweet, because sweet is objective. This is by no means this is not what you would a sweet beer, but it's definitely got the sweet profile because it doesn't have that bitterness or that hop bite. So I think a lot of people that don't like hoppy beers, I think that they could probably get into a milk stout.
Yeah.
It is very good right
this
now.
This is
Amanda,
pretty.
Just to say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's pretty unoffensive. Like I think a lot of people would be, good to try this, even if you don't necessarily love coffee or like really roasty stuff. It's like she said, it's not that sweet, but like the sweetness that it does have does like balance out, any acidity that you would get from coffee normally or other, bitter chocolate, like dark chocolate. it's more of a milk chocolate, like you said.
Yeah.
You can
got
tell
that
why
milk
they sell a
chocolate.
lot of this because it's for the masses. I mean, it's just an easy drinker. I mean, there's nothing that you could say is like off-putting about this beer.
No. I mean, for me personally, I do not like lactose beers. I don't like milk sugar, but I like this because
Yeah.
I think it works really well with the roasted barley and like those flavors that you get complement each other.
It's very soft.
Well.
Yeah. Say hi, Bailey.
Last time we had Cassie. This time we have Bailey.
Bailey was excited to come today because she heard it was an all-black affair. What do you think?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Good talk.
But yeah, it'd been probably a year since I've had one of those, and I miss that. That's a great beer. I think everyone should try that.
Yeah. It's very good.
If you don't think you like stouts or whatever, just give it a shot.
I think people that don't typically like dark beers or like stouts, I think that you would like the left-hand milk stout. Like it's very good. All right.
On to the Guinness Extra Stout.
Which I was very excited about. Guinness, of course, there's like the original Guinness, the Guinness Extra Stout, and then Guinness has a foreign
Extra Stout.
A foreign extra stout, which that one's very good too. I don't know. The Guinness foreign stout actually did taste like I came straight out of a pub. So in Ireland, like they kind of nailed that description. But the extra stout is really good. So you may be asking, what's the difference between Guinness and Guinness Extra Stout? But we have the answer. Go ahead.
Well, Guinness is going to be typically served with more nitro gas. It's a much lower alcohol. It's like 4.2. This is 5.6. This is going to be bumped up in terms of alcohol. It's bumped up in terms of bitterness. There's more hop character in this beer. The extra means extra alcohol is essentially what it means. So again, this would have been a little more typical of back in 1800s when they were making this style. It was a little bit higher alcohol percentage because it helped and hop profile because the hops actually help preserve the beer, and the higher alcohol as well helps keep germs and bacteria away. So it's not going to be near as creamy. It's going to be more bitter, but it's still should have some of that good roasted coffee, dark caramel, maybe some dark chocolate notes to it. So
yeah, and you can already kind of see a difference. Well, again, we're far away from the camera.
See, yeah.
You can't probably see, but if you look at the head, this head has got so many bubbles and break points from the carbonation, whereas this is just a really smooth, which I think if you've ever had a Guinness, you know the Guinness also has that very smooth, thick foam. And for a proper Guinness, typically if they're pouring it right, it will take probably at least 5 minutes for it to fully settle. So the extra stout's a little different formulation because it is more dry, more bitter, version of it. So
yeah, let's give this.
I mean, you get, like, with this one, you definitely get more, I don't know, you get more of the barley. Like, I think you get more of the...
I was going to say, like, toffee. I get, like, a toffee almost, like a little bit of caramel, but maybe a little bit of spice from some of the hops that they use.
Yeah, it's got that in it. It's very European.
Yeah, a little, almost like a slight clove. Yeah. There's a spice in there somewhere. It's like a cinnamon clove almost.
It almost reminds me of like an English bitter, like it on the nose, or like an English brown ale. It's got a lot of those like
a little more roasty, but similar.
But again, being an Irish stout, it's going to be more dry. A little more, this one's going to be a little hoppier.
There's no added sugar. There's no adjuncts in this, so it's gonna, assuming depending on the type of yeast they use, it's gonna be drier, higher attenuation. So, we already tried it. Oh man,
Actually,
that's so good.
actually complements this. Like, again, you go from this, which has got a little more body, to this, which is a little bit thinner.
Yeah.
And they actually complement each other real well. Like, my palate is, I don't know what I'm trying to say
I mean,
now, but
to me, this isn't lacking. Doesn't lose any flavor from the left hand. It's just totally built differently. It's just there. You obviously notice right away that it's drier. You get more of the malt profile as opposed to some of the like milk chocolate. It's definitely more towards the roasted barley, but it's still not overpowering. It's still, I mean, it's 5.6. It's still a fairly easy drinking beer.
again, too, to go back to so extra stout in general was developed by the British because when the British were in India or the Caribbean, like, they still wanted their stout beer, so they developed the extra stout because, again, as we said earlier, hops help preserve the beer for long trips. So obviously, like, by boat, the beer has to be on there for 6 months or however long, and so
At least a month, yeah.
the extra stout,
Help preserve it.
Yeah, it's good.
They say on their page that bitter marries sweet. So, and that's a good description. I think it's somewhere in the middle of the style. There's a hint of sweetness, a little bit of spice, a little bit of hop, a little bit of roastiness, but it's kind of just right down the middle. There's nothing offensive in this beer. It's more dry. I think anyone would enjoy this beer.
Yeah.
If you like Guinness, definitely give this one a try. It's not as creamy, but it has everything else that you're looking for. It still has sort of that basic Guinness malt profile that a lot of people enjoy. So
yeah,
it's going to be in our rotation
for sure
from now on.
And I think I've always seen the extra stout. I feel like the foreign stout is maybe a little bit newer, but I've always seen the extra stout and never really knew the difference. So great thing about these tasting videos is we get to do research and learn a little bit about things we didn't know before.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the Guinness.
Yeah.
All right.
We're gonna climb up the mountain and go down the Black Diamond before we move on to our personal bunny hill, so to speak.
Yeah. What we did not know about the Black Chocolate Stout by Brooklyn, it's a Russian Imperial Stout. It is 10%. So that's a heavy beer.
Yeah. So this is a totally different style within this style, so to speak. It's the big, bold, high-end alcohol end of the spectrum for this style.
And it pours like mud.
Yeah. So this is definitely a winter warmer for a good night when it's, maybe you are out on the ski slopes or ice skating or shoveling the driveway or whatever. This thing is gonna warm you up quick. But again, Brooklyn Brewing, we've had a number of beers from them over the years. They do really great stuff from lagers to IPAs. So I'm expecting good things, and a lot of people have probably maybe you've had like Old Rasputin. There's some pretty popular Russian stouts out there. Founders makes a good one, but they tend to be even higher than this, 9, 10, up to 12 or 13% even for Russian Imperial stouts.
Yeah.
I guess a little bit of background on the Russian Imperial stouts, similar to some of the English stouts, is basically, my understanding is Catherine the Great, who was an empress of Russia in the 18th century, she had a taste for English stouts. So she wanted to have some shipped over to her, but again, to make that trek, which took probably a few weeks, if not more back then, they wanted to make sure that it was going to get there and still retain all of its qualities, so they bumped up the alcohol a lot, and as well as the hoppiness. They tend to be pretty hoppy too. And then I guess she really liked it. It showed up well. It tasted well, so they started they started putting that on regular rotation back in the castle on the draft line. So
That's that's a good story.
so Catherine the Great, thank
fun.
you.
Thank you, Catherine. We appreciate it.
But
And that has been History by
Yeah.
Wyatt. Okay.
Davai.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, again, not a ton on the nose.
yeah.
I can tell this is going to be a Russian Imperial Stout, though, because I can smell some of that alcohol coming on. I mean,
Yeah, it's got a heavy alcohol
Yeah.
for sure on the nose. You can still kind of see, like, it's thick.
it's a good head. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
It's darker than some of the other ones.
It still does not seem as thick and creamy, though, as the nitro. So, again, there's something between the science between nitro versus the CO2.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting to actually compare 2x2.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, that's...
A little bit of roastiness, a little bit of spice, but mostly some sweet malt aromas, and then just like you can tell there's almost some bourbon. You know, it's not barrel aged,
Yeah.
but there's almost like a
it's got that caramelization.
vanilla caramelization.
Yeah.
It's faint, but it's there. You know this is going to be a big beer. You know it's going to be warm, and
Yeah.
so let's see.
All right. Oof. Das Vidania.
Oh, but it's so
Ooh.
smooth.
Yeah. On your breath out, you get a lot of that alcohol, though.
Yeah.
I would say it's pretty similar to a barrel aged bourbon. It actually kind of reminds me a little bit of the Goose Island Bourbon County Stout. Like it's like in that same vein. But
Yeah.
man, that's good. I can't believe that's 10%. But
Yeah.
again, on the breath out, you definitely get a lot of alcohol.
Yeah, there's definitely some dark chocolate and some a little bit of spices, some clove, and but mostly mostly just some of those darker malts coming through. Some dark vanilla, dark chocolate.
Yeah, it's very so. This in comparative to let's say the Left Hand Milk Stout, which you do get a lot of the milk chocolates. This is definitely a dark chocolate.
Yeah.
You get a lot of the espresso. Like if you like espresso coffee, you like a dark roast, a bitter, strong coffee. Like I think you would like this beer. Like it's good.
Yeah. I got a coffee joke for you.
Okay.
And this is fitting for you.
I like a good joke.
Why are Italians so good at making espresso?
Why?
She's Italian, by the way. Because they're really good at, or I should say, they really know how to espresso themselves.
That was bad.
Anyways, back to the beer.
That was a Laffy Taffy joke.
Yeah, I know.
Which are my favorite.
It might have been on the cap, the back of a Snapple cap. Called back.
Good stuff.
Bailey didn't like it. She's sitting right here. If no one knows, she's
Yeah, you can't. She's kind of under the table.
yeah. But anyways,
Thank you, Amanda. The enthusiasm is appreciated.
yeah.
That's
It's actually one of the lighter or more subtle Russian Imperial Stouts I've had. Like if you have Old Rasputin,
oof.
that thing hits you a little bit harder. Which, a lot of people when they drink these styles of stouts, they want it to kind of hit them. They want to know they're drinking
Yeah.
a Russian Imperial. This is pretty smooth. Like you said, you would not think this is 10.
No,
maybe
it's
8.
Yeah, I would probably, if I had to clock it,
Yeah.
I'd say 7 or 8%. Which, I mean, I guess 8% versus 10. What's the difference? But 8% is still
I'll let
pretty
you know.
strong. No, it's good. I mean, again, you have a lot more alcohol burn on this than you do any of the other beers. But again, difference. We basically have 4 different stouts that we're drinking tonight.
Yeah.
So it's Russian Imperial. That's its own category.
I'll go get ours.
Okay. White's gonna pour.
Oh.
our beer next. As he's struggling with Bailey. What? Alright, he will be back in a moment. But yeah, so this is kind of a fun style to brew and explore. Again, as I mentioned before, a year ago, this is not something that I would have enjoyed, but we've had a few other coffee stouts that we've purchased lately. I was drinking one earlier, and when we were brewing on New Year's Eve, we talked about a couple of them, but we had one. It's from a brewery in Wisconsin. I can't remember the name, but it's called Fuel Cafe, and that's probably one of my favorite beers I've had in the later years. Like in the last 5 years, that's a really good beer. So it's been fun, kind of exploring the different styles. So yeah, if anyone has questions, or we'll kind of dive into our recipe for our American Stout. So definitely a recipe I'm going to save because we're really, really, really happy with how this turned out. Our ABV, our gravity, so our basement's a little bit cooler. I would say it's probably, I don't know, around 60 down here. So our fermentation, I don't think, was quite as productive as it should have been. In the future, we'll probably do what's called a yeast starter. So basically, the yeast starter, if you've seen some of our other videos, it's if a stir plate, you have a beaker with the yeast, you make like a mini wort, or basically beer, and the stir plate kind of, you let it go for 2 days. Yeah, so that kind of helps get the yeast going and active, and so we maybe had a little bit of yeast stoppage during fermentation. So again, our beer is probably about 4%, 4.4, 4.5%, whereas we were kind of aiming
Closer to 6.
closer to 6. So
Yeah,
we
we missed the mark a little bit. I think it was just the
Yeah.
temperatures. We had like a cold spell here over the last couple weeks where it dipped down like into the teens.
yeah.
So our basement got pretty cool. So you can combat that with
Yeah.
higher yeast counts, but
But the flavor, I mean,
the
again,
flavor's awesome. Yeah.
If I went to any brewery and I ordered this, I would be ecstatic. I mean, not to toot our own horns, but
Yeah.
I think this might be our best batch of beer that we've brewed. It's very good.
Yeah. The color came out.
Real good.
I think we were going for an SRM. What was it? I think it was around 30. So it's towards the darker end. Obviously,
Explain what an SRM is.
it's just a measurement of like how light can go through a liquid, how opaque or
Yeah.
transparent a liquid is. So
Ours is definitely the most opaque of all of them.
not opaque, least opaque.
Or least of that's
Yeah.
yeah.
I wouldn't say
heads-
it's black though. It's a very, very dark brown.
Yeah, our head's not quite as tan or brown as
No.
maybe the other ones, but it still has some good
Pretty
body.
close though.
It's got some good creamy body on it. So
And it's been exactly 3 weeks since we brewed this.
yeah,
So with obviously with like another month or two of aging, you might pick up just a little more color, a little more character
Yeah.
with some of the tannins or some of the characteristics. But
we so to make it a coffee stout, there's a couple different techniques you can do. I think typically people do like a cold brew, and then they add that. There's different measurements depending on how much you're brewing, as far as like how much coffee you use. I mean, you can get the coffee in this, but I think maybe in the future we could probably add a little bit more coffee, maybe bump it up a tad. But honestly, it's like pretty spot on. But we didn't do a cold brew; we just brewed.
yeah,
We brewed a little bit of coffee, and I think we used a cup of coffee.
we used a cup. Yeah, La Colombe out of Philadelphia. Great,
Yeah.
great brewery or great roastery.
Yeah.
They have locations in Chicago and around the country. So
Yeah.
really good quality beans, good quality drip coffee, We added it just towards the end on the hot side, the last 10 minutes of the boil. So, you'll hear a lot of different things, getting into more brewing, like science about when to add coffee. You'll get, you'll retain more oils, burn off more oils, retain more character, vice versa.
Yeah.
Obviously, contamination and sanitization are things that you worry about on the cold side. But you'll get more character, more flavor on that side typically. So maybe next time we'll try more on the cold side.
Yeah. We should try both ways just to kind of see. I think too, when you add the hot coffee directly during the boil, it can be more bitter and less rounded out. Whereas if you add the cold brew to the fermentation, that can give you like more coffee,
more wholesome coffee
profile, but less bitterness.
Yeah.
So, but again, this beer is. I don't think it's very bitter. I mean, I think it's pretty.
I think we hit
spot on.
I think we hit our bitterness pretty good. I mean, for the American stout style, it could be much more bitter than ours, because it can go up to like 70 IBUs, which is kind of crazy. Honestly, I don't think that would taste that good. But
and most people don't.
No.
I mean, I don't get a stout expecting it to be a hot bomb. Like I don't want it to be. Maybe I want a little bit of a bite, just because.
Yeah.
Like for me, for coffee, I like a more bitter dark roast. I don't add any like sugar or milk or anything, so like I like that more bitter flavor. So something dark chocolate and stronger, I guess, is more up my alley, but I wouldn't expect it to be like hoppy. Yeah.
So I think we fell somewhere in the middle of sort of the American style, maybe on the sweeter end and the hoppier end, versus like an Irish style, which is drier and less hoppy. I think we're somewhere in the middle of that. Again, we wanted our alcohol to be a little higher, but that's just just a matter of where we actually fermented our beer at. So
and again, regular Guinness is only 4.5%.
4.2. Yeah.
So we're
higher than that.
It's not like
we're at like 4.6.
We're not like unspeakably low.
No.
I mean,
it's not that noticeable that like, I wish there was more alcohol in this, but no, for the most part, we're pretty happy with this. It turned out well.
Yeah.
I think if we would have fully finished fermentation, conversion, it would have been spot on, honestly.
Yeah. Well, let's get going. Yeah, I mean, on the nose, you just straight up smell coffee. I mean,
yeah.
Which
is why I kind of disagree with you. I think that the coffee note is fine on it.
No,
I think it's like what we
but
wanted. It's not overpowering, but it's there. I mean,
yeah, I know.
You like.
I would probably.
Your newfound love for coffee has kind of gotten you coffee sick on, wanting everything to just be a coffee bomb.
Yeah, well, it's good.
But like especially on the back end now, like there's some. I don't want to say like really dark chocolate, but there is some chocolate like cocoa nib in there, like some good roastiness.
I honestly think we're like if I had to compare it to the other three we've had, it's somewhere in the middle between the Guinness and the Brooklyn. Like you
in
get
the Brooklyn?
I think you get the dark chocolate.
I was going to say it was between the Guinness and the milk stout, but
the milk stout's just got a little bit different taste because it's got that like milk chocolate sweetness. So I get definitely like nice dark chocolate flavor out of this.
Yeah. And we used like the majority of the malt was just pale malt 2-row Briess. So it's just a pretty basic biscuity generic malt you can use for a lot of beers, and then we went into some more special malts, and we used some flaked barley. The color came from a lot of the chocolate Briess malt, and then we also used some caramel crystal malts, and roasted barley is another signature for a stout is using roasted barley. So the color comes from a lot of the chocolate malts, the roastiness obviously from the roasted barley. But at the end of the day, it's still got like a nice, slightly sweet malty backbone, but not overly sweet.
I mean, you can get some of that hop flavor, but this beer, by the way, we only used an ounce of hops, which is very, very low.
It's very limited, yeah.
And they're only bittering hops. They're not used for flavor. So the flavor you get off this is strictly off all the barley and the wheat. Yeah. So and you can really taste. I mean, I feel like this is like I'm literally eating all of our
Yeah.
grain
The
bill.
malt. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
or drinking it, I should say, not eating
I
it.
thought maybe it would be a little more creamy or have a little more body with all of the flaked adjuncts, like we used the flaked barley and I guess that was the only flaked malt that we used.
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe next time we would do. A lot of people do like the oatmeal stouts are really popular. They'll do they'll use a lot of flaked oats to try and get some of that creaminess that you might get to try and get some of the nitrogen creaminess from like a nitro stout. They'll use like a flaked oat. But yeah, no, we're really happy with this. I mean, some tweaks here and there. We're definitely on the right path. I mean, we both really enjoy it.
Yeah. I've never really drank cold brew, so I would be interested to like drink this with cold brew coffee because I kind of feel like it wouldn't be too dissimilar.
It's not. I can tell you. Yeah. Because we used to have cold brew on tap at Riggs, and it was pretty similar to this.
Well, there you go.
It's very tasty.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anything else? Anything else to add other than?
I don't know. I mean, if anyone's got any questions or comments or anything, share them in the chat.
Yeah.
I think I think
that's
we've
about
pretty much
all we got for tonight. So yeah, we are again. We're getting ready to brew again. Next week we will be brewing again.
The mystery.
So
I think what we're
mystery tab is about to be filled in.
The next beer style, which is probably not the favorite of a lot of our family members, but we are going to do a New England style IPA.
Also known as a NEPA. A lot of people in the industry call them NEPAs, New England style IPA. So, very popular, last 5 years. They're typically pretty hazy, juicy. They look like, some of them almost look like a glass of orange juice. We haven't done one, so we really want to do one because we enjoy them for one, and two, they're really popular, and three, they're really complex. They take a lot of the malt bill's not complex, but the hop characters and the hop bill is pretty
when you
intense.
You have to add hops at different times and boil. So like it's going to take a lot of focus.
A lot of hops
to make sure the hops are added at the correct times.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do they typically have the dry hopping?
Yeah, so they
we're gonna
typically
have to do
do
dry
like a 3-6-9 dry hopping, where you'll do some dry hopping 3 days after initial fermentation ends, 6 days after, 9 days after, and of course, depending on when you add hops during a brew day, you are seeking a different result. So you're seeking more bitterness, more oiliness, more aroma, etc. So there's quite a science just to hop additions, and so we're pretty comfortable in that world. But this will be our first big hoppy beer, so we're excited to do that.
For anyone from Champaign, I think our mental inspiration is probably Dank Meme from Triptych Brewing. Yeah, that is like both love that beer.
Although we'll probably be a little bigger than that even. Yeah, that's only like a 5% beer, 5.5% beer. Oh.
Hey, Mitch and Sarah. How are you guys doing? Mitch was asking what coffee we use. So we actually use La Colombe.
La Colombe.
So it's
they
really
good. They have a roastery. They have a brick and mortar in Chicago. They're out of Philadelphia. They had the owner had a show on Travel Channel years back where he went all over the world to like remote jungles and villages in the middle of the mountains, harvesting coffee beans and bringing them back to roast in the United States. And so that's how I found out about him. And then he started opening new places around the country. He opened one in Chicago like 5 years ago. Their coffee's awesome.
But then also, if that was a joke, I would probably use Dunkin' over Starbucks.
Oh yeah,
we both like the Dunkin' coffee much more than
Starbucks. Starbucks is, I don't know, maybe good fertilizer for your tomatoes or something. I don't know. No, I'm a team Duncan personally, but put Henry to bed. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, New England style IPA. We're looking forward to it. We might go live a little bit for the brew day next week, just to give you guys a sneak peek and say hi.
And again, because it is a little bit different brewing process, I mean, I feel like, I don't know, you guys can let us know if you think otherwise, but we had a lot of fun doing the New Year's Eve brew. It was fun, just going through the process, and I feel like I don't know, I would be interested if I didn't know too much, but Don said baked beans and lobster flavored. That would be amazing.
Baked beans and lobster flavored. That's scary. I don't know what that is.
I would go for it.
That's a scary combination.
I'm okay with it.
Baked beans
Lobster roll.
Yeah. Give me a lobster roll, a New England IPA.
We
Now we're talking.
We can throw some clam chowder in
Yeah,
there.
maybe some clam strips. Yeah, now we're talking. Makes me want to watch Departed. But
Yeah. Yeah.
anything else?
Bailey, anything for you? Okay. Good talk. Yeah, I think that's it, guys.
Thanks for coming in. Yeah,
and
we hope you, if you were able to get one or two or three of these, hopefully you enjoyed with us.
Yeah.
Hopefully they were easy enough to find. Again, we'll be brewing next week.
I noticed Leah is not on drinking the lineup with us. I assume she's saving lives at the hospital, but that's no excuse.
Yes. That's my sister, by the way. She's a nurse.
Yes. Anyways, okay, yeah.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
one, guys. I knew that was going to happen.
Bailey.
All right.
We'll see you guys next week. We'll be doing some brewing. So until then, enjoy your evening. Enjoy the football games. Enjoy the UFC fight. Go Hawks. Go Bulls. Go Bears. Go Blackhawks. Go Illini.